Welcome to the deep dive. So let's just jump right in. Picture this. You're on the coast of Saint-Malo, France. Rugged, ancient.
Okay.
And this superstorm hits. Something nobody's ever seen before.
Wow.
Winds, like over 200 kilometers an hour. Streets flooded, just raging rivers.
Unbelievable.
And the waves.
Yeah.
Huge, just swallowing the seawalls. It feels less like weather, honestly, and more like this primal warning.
Yeah, a real wake-up call.
Exactly. And right there, inside an old stone church, is Father Crowe. He's dealing with his own kind of storm.
An internal one.
Totally. His church, the UCC, they had these prophecies from Abigail Grace Carter, warnings about a Sunday law, a counterfeit rest.
Very specific belief.
And these beliefs are just crashing head-on with the reality outside his window, this massive, undeniable climate crisis.
That's a potent mix right there. It really sets the stage, doesn't it? This collision between deeply held faith and this urgent physical threat.
Absolutely. And that's what this deep dive is all about, navigating that clash. Because on one side, you've got Dr. Elena Marquez, the scientist. She's working flat out trying to understand and maybe stop this climate disaster.
The voice of scientific reason facing this immense challenge.
Then there's TerraCore, big corporation. They're pushing this controversial geoengineering plan called Project Nimbus.
Project Nimbus. The potential quick fix. Or maybe not.
Exactly. Is it salvation? Or is it something much more cynical?
Yeah.
A deception.
And that's the core of it. Our mission today is really to unpack this whole tangled story. It's got faith, corporate greed, climate catastrophe, personal integrity.
All colliding violently.
Right. We want to look at how fear gets used, how beliefs can be twisted, and maybe most importantly, how rethinking truth can actually spark real change.
So yeah, let's get into it.
Okay.
All right, so these storms are brewing. Externally, the global climate picture is, well, it's grim. Dr. Marquez is seeing numbers that are just terrifying.
What kind of numbers are we talking about?
Record carbon emissions, just soaring. Polar ice, melting faster than anyone thought possible. And these climate disasters are getting worse, way beyond predictions. It's not just a bad weather pattern, it's a fundamental shift.
And that kind of reality, that kind of fear, it creates a vacuum, doesn't it?
It does. And who steps into that vacuum?
TerraCore with Project Nimbus.
Bingo. Their big idea.
Yeah.
Shoot reflective aerosols way up into the stratosphere. Try to cool the planet artificially.
Sounds almost like science fiction, a technological Hail Mary.
It does. But Elena Marquez, she's skeptical from the get-go, sees huge risks, stuff nobody can really predict.
And maybe sees the profit motive, too.
Oh, absolutely. She sees TerraCore and thinks, what's their angle here?
Yeah.
But then you have her colleague, Dr. Patel.
Right, Dr. Samir Patel. He has a different take.
Yeah, kind of a weary pragmatism. He basically says, look, it's the only plan anyone's funding.
Oof, that says a lot, doesn't it? The desperation, pushing towards maybe risky solutions because they're the funded solutions.
Exactly. It really highlights how a crisis can lead to, well, maybe cutting corners or accepting flawed plans.
Yeah, the allure of solutionism, as they call it. When you're desperate, the easiest path or the best funded one looks awfully tempting, even with hidden risks. Are we looking for real answers or just expensive distractions?
That's the million-dollar question. And while the world's battling this literal storm, Father Crowe is wrestling his internal one, all about faith.
Okay, so back to Crowe.
His early sermons, they're full of warnings. Perilous times. He's citing Abigail Grace Carter's prophecies about signs in nature.
Connecting the climate events to prophecy.
Directly. And warning about this coming Sunday law, this idea that a universal day of rest will be enforced, challenging their Saturday Sabbath. And also counterfeit rest, a false peace distracting from true faith.
These are really specific, deeply held beliefs within the UCC.
Very. But then Reverend Anna Hayes steps up. She's younger, maybe sees things a bit differently within the UCC.
Different perspective.
Yeah. She challenges Crowe, says, what about stewardship of the earth? Isn't that just as vital, maybe more urgent right now? She warns him, don't let prophecy paralyze us.
Wow. That's a direct challenge, and a really insightful one.
It is, and it really gets Crowe thinking, is he using Carter's warnings correctly? Or have they become a kind of shield, an excuse for inaction?
That realization must be painful, questioning if your interpretation, your tradition is actually holding you back.
It's huge. Okay, so now let's peel back another layer.
Yeah.
The corporate angle, the deception.
TerraCore and Victor Crane.
Right. Victor Crane, the CEO, slick guy. He's pitching Project Nimbus to his own execs, not just as business, but as salvation.
Selling the narrative internally as well.
But here's the really insidious part of their strategy.
Okay, what's the play?
It's chilling, really. They're not just waiting for an opportunity, they're actively exploiting the UCC's fears, especially that fear around the Sunday law.
How? How are they exploiting it?
By fanning those flames, creating division. Because if the church is arguing about prophecy, they're not uniting to demand climate action.
So it delays things, slows down regulation.
Exactly. Buys TerraCore time and space to push Project Nimbus forward, making it seem like the only option left.
Wow. And they control the story. Anyone who disagrees?
They're dismissed, labeled heretical fear-mongering. It's incredibly cynical, but effective.
Masterful manipulation. So this internal church conflict gets amplified.
Massively. Which brings us to this really heated UCC council meeting. The divisions are just laid bare.
You can feel the tension.
Reverend Hayes stands up, makes this passionate case for stewardship, for caring for creation. She even quotes Carter back at them, warning against indifference.
Using their own prophetess against inaction? Bold.
Very. But then Bishop Edmund Vance steps in. He's the UCC president. Very traditional, very rigid.
The old guard.
Totally. He pushes back hard. Says this talk of a universal day of rest isn't about stewardship. It's the prelude to Sunday worship enforcement, a direct attack on God's Sabbath, as he sees it.
So a fundamental clash of interpretations. Is the crisis a sign pointing towards prophecy or a call to act on stewardship?
Precisely. And Father Crowe, he's caught right in the middle, physically, emotionally.
It's flipping through his mind.
He's thinking about another Carter quote. True worship is a matter of the heart, not coercion. Beware of fear that paralyzes, for it serves the enemy as surely as ignorance.
Wow. That's powerful. Fear paralyzing them.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, right? Is that fear actually blinding the church? Making them miss the bigger picture? Maybe even the true spirit of their own beliefs?
It's a critical question, not just for them, but for any group in crisis. How often do our fears, our fixed ideas stop us seeing what's really happening or what needs doing?
While all this is going on inside the church, outside, Elena Marquez and her brother Javier, they're digging into TerraCore.
Trying to prove the manipulation?
Exactly. They see TerraCore as using the UCC to stall climate action for their own gain.
And Elena gets an idea, a bold one.
Yeah, she thinks, what if we approach Father Crowe, his influence? He could be a powerful ally. Maybe the ally they need to expose TerraCore.
Makes sense. But Javier's skeptical.
Very. He's like, change that kind of deep-seated worldview. Almost impossible.
Understandable skepticism. It's a big ask.
It is. But this is where we start seeing those seeds of awakening. Crowe's personal journey really kicks into high gear.
Okay, what happens?
He gets Elena's letter, and it lays everything out. TerraCore's manipulation, the real dangers of Project Nimbus, all the data.
The hard evidence. How does he react?
It shakes him. That night, he pulls out his copy of The Pillars of Truth, Carter's writings, reads it again.
Looking for answers, maybe.
And he finds something, or rather, he sees something new in words he thought he knew.
What's the quote?
The greatest danger to God's people is not persecution, but complacency. When fear and tradition overshadow truth, even the elect may be led astray.
Wow. That hits differently now, doesn't it?
Completely. It's like a lightning bolt for him. This profound realization. Maybe the problem isn't just the world outside. Maybe the church itself, its interpretation needs to change.
That's a huge shift. It suggests that real faith isn't static. It has to engage with new truths, new realities, reinterpret, perhaps.
Absolutely. And this leads him to meet Elena. On the cliffs at San Malo. Windswept, dramatic.
The setting matters.
It does. And she gives him the evidence. Hard proof. Shows him exactly how TerraCore is playing on the church's fears.
Face to face with the truth.
And she challenges him.
Yeah.
Directly. Asks him, hasn't the church forgotten Carter's teachings about caring for the earth? Stewardship.
Puts him on the spot.
He admits it. He said that part has been overshadowed.
An honest admission.
And Elena pushes him. Use your voice, she says. Speak out for stewardship, for action.
The pressure is immense now, internally, externally.
Which all leads to the next UCC council meeting.
Yeah.
And it's turbulent. Bishop Vance is doubling down, no compromise, absolutely rigid.
Standing firm on his interpretation.
But Father Crowe, something's changed in him. He's reached a decision point.
Okay, the moment of truth.
He stands up, takes a breath, and he says it. I am suggesting we reevaluate what that stance truly means.
Reevaluate, that's huge.
He goes on, the Sabbath is not just a command. It is a gift, a sign of our connection to the Creator.
Reframing it.
If we are to defend it, we must first embody its principles. And here's the key part, including care for the earth and compassion for others.
Wow. Connecting the Sabbath directly to environmental stewardship and compassion, that's revolutionary for them.
It absolutely stunned the room. A complete seismic shift in interpretation, a truly bold stance.
So now we get to the fracture in the fight. The fallout must have been immediate.
Oh, instantly. Reverend Hayes, she's emboldened, straight away calls for interfaith dialogue, practical solutions.
Yeah.
Action.
Taking his cue and running with it.
But Bishop Vance, he's furious, rallies the hardliners, accuses Crowe of apostasy. Any talk of compromise is heresy to him now.
The lines are drawn, deeper than ever.
The tension between Crowe and Vance just crackles. Crowe keeps saying, they're exploiting our fears. Vance just won't hear it.
Too entrenched. And the pressure on Crowe must be intense.
Unbelievable. Vance threatens his position, hints at removing him, and for a moment, Crowe actually falters. He goes quiet.
A moment of silence, under threat.
Yeah. And Reverend Hayes confronts him, tells him people are calling him a traitor. She challenges him, lead, don't let fear win now.
That must have stung, feeling the weight of that silence, that doubt.
Definitely. But while Crowe's having this crisis of conscience, Elena and Javier are still digging.
They haven't stopped.
No way. And they get a breakthrough. Whistleblower leaks.
The final piece.
It exposes everything. TerraCore's entire agenda, monopolizing geoengineering, profiting from the chaos. And here's the kicker. Proof they were directly funding extremist rhetoric within religious groups, including the UCC.
Whoa! So they weren't just exploiting fears, they were actively paying to stir them up.
Exactly. It's devastating.
Yeah.
Just blows TerraCore's whole image apart. The truth is finally out.
Game changer. How does this impact Crowe?
It seems to be the final catalyst. He's back at the UCC Council. He's reread Carter's words again. Silence in the face of injustice is as great a sin as participation in it.
No more silence?
No more silence. Bishop Vance is talking, holding the floor, and Crowe just interrupts him powerfully.
What does he say?
Enough. His voice just cuts through. I've already done too much sitting down, and I regret every moment of it.
Taking his stand fully.
Completely. He lays into the church's fear-driven thinking, tells them flat out, we've been manipulated, says they've dishonored God by ignoring suffering, by letting fear rule.
Wow. Uncompromising.
And he finishes with that call again. Act out of love and stewardship. It's a defining moment. For him, for the UCC, for the whole story.
So what happens then, the immediate aftermath?
Well, TerraCore's plans basically crumble. The public exposure, the proof of manipulation, it's too much. Their project gets dismantled.
A victory for transparency, at least.
Yes. But for the UCC, it's the start of a really difficult journey. They're fractured. It's a slow, probably painful process of trying to find that balance between prophecy and responsibility, between fear and faith.
Not an easy road. Institutions don't change overnight.
Not at all. Months later, we see Father Crowe again, back on those cliffs in St. Malo. The literal storm is long gone, but the internal ones are maybe just settling.
Reflecting.
Yeah, just rereading Carter again. About a faithful remnant, those who stand for truth, even when institutions built on compromise start to crumble.
A recognition that sometimes truth exists outside the structures.
Exactly, and he has this moment of clarity, this really profound thought. It's not about saving the institution, it's about saving the truth.
Powerful. Shifting the focus from the structure to the principle.
Right. And that, I think, leaves us with a final thought. Something for you, our listener, to maybe ew on.
Okay.
In this world we live in, just flooded with information, narratives pulling us every which way, constant chances for manipulation.
Yeah.
How do you tell truth from deception?
Yeah, how do you navigate that?
And maybe even more fundamentally, what does it really mean to stand up for what you believe is right? Especially when doing that means challenging things, maybe even beliefs that are deeply, deeply established.
A tough question, but a vital one.
Thanks for wandering with me. If you felt inspired, learned something new, or saw the world differently, hit that like, subscribe, and share the view. Let's keep exploring together.